All right, so back again for an instant reaction to an NBA trade. This has been the wildest trade deadline that I can remember in NBA history. Usually the deadlines are pretty disappointing, pretty boring, but yeah, Zach LaVine finally has been traded from Chicago. That we've been waiting for so long for him to get traded. And somehow he's not even the biggest part of the trade he's a part of. De'Aaron Fox is now on the San Antonio Spurs. The 3-team deal, I'm looking at Shams Street right now. The Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings get Zach LaVine, City, Kosoko, 3 first-round picks, which is Charlotte's 2025 pick, the Spurs 27 pick, and the Timberwolves 2031 pick. They get 3 second-round picks, including their own 2028 pick back. And the Bulls end up with Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own first-round pick back from San Antonio. Good God. Well, past 2 days, 2 massive 3-team trades. Yeah, we all knew, everyone here knew that this should be the year that the Bulls finally get rid of, finally blow it up. I don't even want to say just Zach LaVine. The Bulls have been avoiding and not wanting to rebuild for so long, for so many years now, and they've just avoided it. They just haven't done it, and it looks like they're finally going to do it. Yeah, I imagine earlier in the day it looked like LaVine might have ended up going to the Bucks for maybe Middleton, but this trade signifies that the Bulls are not going to want to do a win now situation. They're just going to go full on rebuild mode. They're just going to blow it up, start tanking for the end of the season, and then going into next year as well. I imagine, yeah, the Warriors are definitely going to be all in on Nikola Vucevic if they manage to, if the LeBron thing doesn't pan out. Imagine they're going to trade a couple of their young players, like maybe Pod or maybe somebody on the end of their bench, maybe a couple picks. But, yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about Chicago firstly, but I think it's the most interesting part is mainly because for years I think that's going to happen, and yet they end up essentially getting nothing back from Zach LaVine. They get their own pick back. They get Zach Collins, who's nothing. It just feels like it's just salary cap. Kevin Huerter feels like salary cap. Is on way too big of a contract. And they get Trey Jones, who is nothing. They essentially get nothing for Zach LaVine. They get nothing after all this. After everything they've gone through, they get nothing for Zach LaVine, an all-star guy who has been like an all-star this season. God, this has to be one of the most mismanaged teams in all of sports. But I'm not going to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. They give up Collins, Jones, Kosoko, and a good bit of draft picks. They give up, I think they had Charlotte's pick. They got their own pick in 2027. And then they give up the Bulls pick from this year. So that's some good assets. Those picks are very valuable, but it's not going to matter. You have De'Aaron Fox now, one of the premier guards in the league, who is going to be a perfect fit alongside Victor Wembanyama. And not only that with De'Aaron Fox, but for the end of the season, they're still going to have Chris Paul. I don't know if Paul will play out the remainder of the season with San Antonio. He could be moved at some point. And I think Chris Paul, if the Lakers manage to move Austin Reeves for a big, I imagine the Lakers may try and get in on Chris Paul for just something cheap, more than likely. He's not worth that much at the moment. But, Wembanyama now is going to have his... We've been wondering, when is Wemby going to get his star teammate? Because he just hasn't had it yet. For a young guy like this, San Antonio Spurs currently, by the way, the 12th seed at the moment. They're 21 and 25 behind the Warriors, who are 24 and 20, and they're also behind the Kings, who are 24 and 20. Trying to get that last play-in spot. But the Spurs roster at the moment, they currently, they've just been waiting for that. Devin Vassell's not a terrible asset, but he's way too overpaid, $29 million. He's not a terrible shooting guard, but ridiculously overpaid for what he can do. Keldon Johnson, $19 million. I think his contract's up at the end of the season, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a terrible option. But I imagine some team's going to offer a stupid amount of money for, way overpay him. And then, the rest of it is just a bunch of nothing, really. Stephon Castle, I really like him. He's a good rookie out of UConn. It's a good asset the Spurs have building going forward. And I didn't even think about this till just now. Castle was like a potential key part of the De'Aaron Fox trade because this, Fox of the Spurs have been rumored for a while now. And one of the key parts of that trade was going to be Stephon Castle to Sacramento. But the Spurs managed to not only not deal Castle to the Kings, they don't even deal him to the Bulls. Castle, who is a great rookie, fourth overall pick this past year, they managed to keep him, and he's going to probably be their long-term shooting guard. So now in San Antonio, you have... I have hiccups at the moment. Last night I had hiccups. This recording I have hiccups. It's ridiculous. But they have their point guard of the future in De'Aaron Fox, an all-star, all-NBA caliber guy who broke the Kings' curse and managed to finally get the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs, not once but twice. You have your shooting guard of the future, and Castle looks like he's going to be a potential all-star caliber player in the next coming years. You have currently at the time being Keldon Johnson, a great small forward for them, a good 3-and-D player. It's kind of a perfect fit now. Honestly, Keldon Johnson might be one of the big winners of this because, he doesn't have to play the crazy big role he was kind of forced into that he's really not supposed to be playing. He can now just be a great 3-and-D player, which he's probably going to be one of the best in the league at that kind of 3-and-D wing. The same caliber as like Chris Middleton, maybe. It's probably a bit high, but like the Iguodala type. Nah, probably not even Iguodala for the Warriors type role. Kind of like a super version of Josh Richardson is what he could be right now. Power forward. Who in the hell? It's that's going to be something. Who started the last game for the Spurs? I really haven't kept up with the NBA most of the season, but because of football and whatnot. So, Charles Bassey started center last game, and they've currently been having mainly Harrison Barnes starting at power forwards. It's a pretty good 3-and-D option as well. Harrison Barnes, obviously he is not the long-term answer in any stretch of the imagination. There's no world where Harrison Barnes is your long-term power forward. They're going to probably get one at some point. Not this season, probably in the off season. This obviously the Spurs. They get a boost this season, but they're going to be fighting hard for that 10th seed, that last play-in spot. It's the Kings are still not completely out of it. They currently have the 10th seed tiebreaker of the Warriors. Of course, they're the Warriors here too. They may make a move. By the time I'm done recording, I may have a Jimmy Butler to the Warriors podcast by the time this is out. I may have to get another one back in, but I think the Spurs are going to at least be maybe a play-in team, at least going to compete. But by next season, That's when things are really going to pick up for San Antonio, when they get a full off season of De'Aaron Fox, and this core with Wembanyama cooking up. I think next season is going to be a for sure playoff team and maybe one of the title favorites. But yeah, going forward, next 5 years, the Spurs have to win at least one championship. Wembanyama is going to keep improving. If they keep Keldon Johnson, Castle keeps developing, Fox stays on the path that he's on. This has to be a championship winning roster within the next 5 years. There's no excuse otherwise. I imagine Popovich won't be coaching all those years, but if they can get his replacement in, maybe put Popovich just in a front office type of role because he's been having health issues, or consultant type role, I think this could be fantastic for San Antonio. Transitioning from the Duncan to the Kawhi now to the Wembanyama era pretty beautifully, if I say so myself. So within the next 5 years, this team's gonna win a championship. But looking at what the Kings got out of this, it's been rumored for a while. I don't understand why the Kings decided to fire Mike Brown. I know a couple years ago you were a really good playoff team, but it's a tough Western Conference, and when they made the third seed a couple years ago, it was a pretty weak conference at that point in time. They just kind of, the rest of everybody came up rather than them going anywhere. He was great for Sacramento. The players seemed to love him. They bought in, and they were competing, which for majority of my lifetime, before De'Aaron Fox really picked it up over the last couple of years, and they got Mike Brown, they were the laughingstock of the NBA for the most part, and they got rid of the guy who, the coach that was at the center of, reviving this city, reviving this franchise. And not only do you fire him, but you get rid of De'Aaron Fox too. Dropped that. Yeah, this is a rough time to be a Kings fan, which it usually is. But if, based on the situation that they're currently in, this is not the worst haul to get for De'Aaron Fox. Zach LaVine's still a win now type of guy. Still in his prime. How old even is Zach LaVine right now? He's still on the contract for the next couple of years. He's 29 years old, so still has some time. Zach LaVine, he's aged pretty decently for a guy who was always more of an athlete. He's managed to become a full all-around player. The older he's gotten, really gotten his shooting fantastic. One of the best shooters in the league now. You get City Kosoko, pretty good young role player. You managed to get a bunch of draft picks. Charlotte's pick is going to be fantastic. Spurs 2027 pick, not going to be great. And Minnesota's 2031 pick, maybe pretty good. I don't see Anthony Edwards lasting to 2031 in Minnesota. So who knows about how far away that would be. So you get some pretty good assets. You get a young player, and you manage to get a current in his prime star in Zach LaVine, who is not terribly far beneath De'Aaron Fox in terms of talent. So, yeah, I mean, you're kind of going to be stuck to where you are, but I imagine the Kings is going to, in the offseason, may reevaluate, what they're going to do with this team, this organization, and if they're going to continue to push for the playoffs, push for a play-in spot, or if they're just going to blow it up. That would really suck that the Kings got this, and then in a split second, it all just fell apart. That would really hurt because this fan base has gone through so much, so many long years of just pain and misery, and they're right back at it again, right back to dealing with this crap again. Just a bad ownership, poorly run organization. And so, yeah, I'm looking now at what they're going to do over the next couple of years. Cindy Kosoko, just a lot of potential. You're going to have to get him in the lab, get him developing, which, do you trust the Kings at that? Do you trust them? LaVine's going to do great. No issues with Zach LaVine. The picks, who knows with Sacramento. But the current roster, the rest of the season, they're going, I imagine, I'm looking at this. Imagine LaVine's going to be the starting point guard. They're going to probably have Malik Monk starting too. And then DeMar, Sabonis, and like Alex Lynn. This isn't a terrible roster. This screams low play-in roster. This screams 10th seed, just missing the play-in at the 11th seed. This roster, I don't even see winning play-in games. I don't see winning a playoff game if they manage to get to the playoffs. This is now the Kings are kind of stuck in a better version of what the Bulls were in. So now Zach LaVine's kind of in a similar spot to what he was in Chicago, where it's a team that's just not, it's not at that level to where they can really tank and get a good pick, but do good and get a playoff type of situation and be competing. So who knows how long Zach LaVine will even be in Sacramento. What draft picks do the Sacramento Kings even have? Basketball Reference. What future picks do they have? This is historic picks. It's not what I wanted. Here we go. Future picks. Of course, they just got the Charlotte pick for this year. It's going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5. Hell, could even be the first pick of the draft. They have their own pick in 2026, and it looks like they have their own picks going forward. And then they also have acquired late first-round pick in 2027 with San Antonio. You have some pretty high second-round picks this year, too, with Charlotte pick in 2025. And I imagine Sacramento, if I was in this situation, with your own picks, having all your own picks, I think I would just go straight. With some of the other teams, you think, well, we don't have our own picks, so you might as well just keep trying. But you have your own picks. Now you have a pretty high pick this year. I think this season, you play the rest of the season out with this roster, compete as best you can, try and give your fan base at least one more playoff series, have light the beam a couple more times. And then I think in the offseason, you blow it up, you get rid of DeMar, you get rid of honestly, you even get rid of LaVine probably. Hey, just go ahead and trade what you can and get him. You maybe even look to trade Sabonis. You probably trade Sabonis because you can get a lot for him, and then just, start over again. Right back to square one. And that's really sad. That is extremely sad. And then now finally really going to look at the Bulls here. It looks like, and by the way, I paused because I got notification on here from Evan Sidery. Oh, no, M. Sidery from Brian Windhurst. Jimmy Butler will not be traded to the Warriors because he will not sign a long-term extension with Golden State. That makes sense considering we don't know what Curry going to do in the next coming years. So it looks like Butler is pretty much either going to be on the Suns or bust, and I don't know what the hell that's going to look like because because Bradley Beal has to accept the trade too, and I don't think he would accept a trade to anywhere. So who knows? This is going to be an interesting deadline, but I do imagine Jimmy Butler will get traded. But, I don't think it's going to be Phoenix. I think it's going to be somewhere else. I think it's going to be somewhere that we're not expecting. If the Bucks were willing to get rid of Middleton, I can see Butler maybe getting on Milwaukee. I don't know if he'd be a fit on there, but I think they would at least try it. I think LaVine would have been a great fit there. But yeah, now looking at the Bulls, they're going to finally go into a full-on rebuild. I imagine within the next 48 hours, Nikola Vucevic will be moved. All signs point to more than likely Golden State. I don't know if I love that fit that much, but hey, looks like it's going to happen. They're going to have a bunch of young assets and young talent. You have back now Lonzo Ball, who's been playing pretty well after finally getting back from injuries. Ayo Dosunmu is pretty good young talent. Apparently Josh Giddey is valued around the league. I'm not a Josh Giddey guy. I never have been. Horton Tucker isn't the worst. You just now acquired Kevin Huerter. You have my boy Julian Phillips out the Blythewood. Jalen Smith's a good young asset. And then, of course, you have your best asset currently is Kobe White, who is a fantastic guard for you. But yeah, it looks like Chicago is getting ready to go into the full-on rebuild, and this is what they should have done years ago. But now they're finally going to push all in. You just got your own pick back in 2025. Where is their, here we go, future draft picks? Thank you. Yeah, they just acquired their own pick. They have a lottery-protected pick this year from the Blazers, so you're not going to have the Blazers pick this year. And now you're going to have your own draft pick going forward. So that's nice. So yeah, I imagine just go on to the full rebuild, kind of like the Kings. Ride it out the rest of the season. You're currently at the 10 seed. Just see how far you can take it for this year, and then after the season, just wrap it up. But yeah, get rid of Vucevic, see what you can do this year, see what the young guys got, and then just wrap it up. So, yeah, last night we had the craziest trade in NBA history. Today is a pretty wild trade, the 3-team trade, but, it's something that we kind of saw. We all knew LaVine was going to get traded, and we knew Fox was more than likely going to get traded. I'm not a fan of the Fox getting traded, but, the next however long, De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama is going to be one of the most fun duos in the NBA. And now within the last 24 hours, the NBA has completely solved not completely solved the ratings issue, but yeah, the ratings are going to go way higher now because you have Luka on the Lakers is must-see television the rest of the season. Seeing what the Dallas Mavericks are going to do the rest of the season, must-see TV. And now De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama are on the same team. That's going to be must-watch for the next 5 to 10 years. So, thank you all. And, yeah, deadline's coming up. Maybe I'll keep having these on spur-of-the-moment type of recordings. And, maybe by tomorrow, I'll have a Jimmy Butler, trade deadline. But I have to class tomorrow, so I won't be completely on the fly, but if it's during night, I'll have a completely on the fly Jimmy Butler, spur of the moment type of reaction to the trade. So, yeah, thank you and have a blessed one.